Why does a song get stuck in our head? We're all familiar with this feeling. You're brushing your teeth, driving, or going for a brisk walk, and all of a sudden, without your permission, a song starts playing in your head. One study in 2015 showed that this phenomena is very global. They analyzed 80,000 tweets from different countries and found that regardless of what music you listen to or what culture you're in, you're bound to experience this phenomenon, which makes studying this even more important. Researchers have been baffled by this phenomenon for centuries. Psychologists are interested in it because this is more so a cognitive phenomenon that can tell us more about how thought arises and what exactly is the nature of consciousness, whereas musicologists are really interested in it because everybody wants to make a hit song. Humans have had this ability for 50,000 years, ever since our brains developed the ability to perceive music. One study in 1999 provided solid evidence that the brain activation during imagined and perceived music is the same. It is a difficult topic to research and make generalizations about since the experience is very subjective, which begs the question, is it even possible to make generalizations about this topic? And if so, what methods have researchers used to make generalizations about this topic? Serious studies on this topic started around just 3 to 4 decades ago. Just over 100 years ago, a term used to describe songs in popular culture that get stuck in your head was used in Germany. The term was called
Ohrwurm,
which translates to earworm, a parasite that goes into your brain through your ears. Well, don't worry, no such parasite actually exists, but it is a really nice way to describe this phenomenon. The word earworm started penetrating pop culture in America in the 70s. It was first mentioned in a novel, Fly Away by Desmond. However, interest in scientific research about earworms started in the 80s. Researchers wanted to separate memory from imagery. Memory is our brain's capacity to store, retain, or retrieve information. Information such as what did you eat last night? When did you go to the zoo? What did you see in the zoo? That time you graduated. These are all real events that you can recall and are in your memory. Imagery, however, is a creation of sensory-like phenomenon in the absence of an external stimuli. What that means is your brain probably has an image of a pink dog. Now, a pink dog does not actually really exist, but you can picture it in your head. Similarly, you can picture the taste of a burger or the smell of something rancid. Our brain can produce imagery of all the senses. This is where researchers learned that earworms are not just a part of memory, they're more so imagery than memory. The scientific term for earworms is involuntary musical imagery. Musical imagery is divided into 3 types. If I tell you to play the song Bohemian Rhapsody in your head, you probably can. That is called voluntary musical imagery. Similarly, if I play this drum fill, you can probably tell what's about to come next. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. That is called anticipatory imagery. Think of musical imagery as a jukebox in your head. You can voluntarily play a song in the jukebox. You can sing along with a song already being played in the jukebox. Or what if your brain's jukebox is broken and it starts playing songs randomly? That is called involuntary musical imagery. The way to make judgments about a subjective experience, researchers employed methods such as surveys, diary studies, experience sampling studies, computational analysis. You can eliminate bias as much as possible and actually make conclusive results about the phenomenology of the subject, which means you can tell how frequent it is in a week, the duration, pleasantness, or you can also tell the veridictality, which means how much of the experience of the song, like playing in your head, is similar to like the actual recording of the song. And since most of these judgments are made through participants self-reporting, in order to eliminate bias from self-reporting, there are two types: spontaneous, which means outside of an experimental setting, and mindful. It is when participants know that they're going to be asked about this. This mindful self-reporting is divided into self-caught versus probe-caught. And self-caught really means that you just tell somebody to monitor themselves throughout the day and just like write it on a diary, or you get contacted once or twice a day and then they ask you whether you had this experience or not, and that eliminates somewhat of the biases as well. And probe-caught would be indirect questioning, like questionnaires, and or like direct questionnaires as well. Indirect questionnaires are more favored because they eliminate more of the biases. And what I mean by indirect questionnaires is that the participants are not told what the study is about, and they just throw in 2-3 questions about the study, and that eliminates further biases. While testing out the frequency of earworms, researchers found that 90% of the people experience earworms at least once a week. Spontaneous self-reporting via looking at tweets and stuff made it clear that this phenomenon is very global, whereas mindful self-reported proved the 90% figure. In order to make judgments about the duration of how long this experience actually lasts, researchers wanted to know what triggers this experience in the first place, so they can like create these conditions in the lab and figure out how long does it last and make more claims about this. In experience sampling studies, a lot of people were able to identify what caused this experience to happen. Some of them said that while they drive along the same road, they hear the same song. And some said when they have some sort of a thought as a trigger, it happens. And some say it depends upon some kind of a mood that you have as well, like for example when you're like just feeling lonely or something. But most of the people said that recent exposure to the song turns it into an earworm. And gathering data from different triggers, researchers were able to induce the experience of an earworm in a lab condition. And it also explained how this phenomena actually occurs. So there is a trigger, whether something mental or something physical. It triggers a snippet of the song that has a breaking point, and then it loops back again. So having known a lot of ways to induce this phenomenon, the duration was tested by first inducing this experience in someone's mind and then telling them to hit a space bar for the duration of how long this experience is occurring, and then take your hand off the space bar. And it was noted that during experimental settings, around 15 to 20 seconds on average. In surveys or retrospective reporting, the number was much higher. But if you aggregate all the data, this experience does not go above 30 minutes. Similarly, to test how much of the song that is playing in your head is similar to the actual recording, researchers induced the earworm and then told people to tap to the tempo of the song, and then they matched the tapping with the actual tempo of the song, and they saw it was very much similar. Some studies also tried to link this to the Zeigarnik effect, which is that unfinished thoughts or memories in the head, they tend to want to complete. So maybe you hear an unfinished version of the song, that's why it gets stuck in your head. That was not very conclusive. They tested by showing people snippets of a song and showing people the whole song, and the induction of the earworm experience was sort of the same. But what was conclusive was that this happens during low cognitive tasks. Like when you're verbally talking to someone, this experience rarely happens. But when you're driving or you're like sitting in an ideal position or something, only then earworms appear. In the lab, they tested this out by giving low, medium and high cognitive tasks to people and induced the experience of earworms in them. And what they found was, as the cognition of the task got lower, it induced the experience of earworm even more. Also, with these studies, researchers were able to figure out what kind of personalities are more prone to it. Because in an experiment, when participants were told to engage with the music, that is like sing along with it or like dance to it, it induced the experience of earworms more. So your engagement with the music does matter. If you're a musician, research shows that you are more prone to having earworms. Also, it was shown again and again throughout different studies that people who have openness and neuroticism are more prone to having this experience as well. Then some musicologists and psychologists got into the mix and they wanted to know what are the characteristics of a song that make it more prone to being stuck in someone's head. Is there a judgment we can make about the song? They selected 3,000 participants to give songs that they have had an earworm experience with. Selected 100 of the top earworm songs which were like familiar to a lot of people, because familiarity also plays a role in whether the song gets stuck in your head or not, to non-earworms but from the same genre. And then they did some like 83 statistical analysis and everything. They've made 3 claims about the structures of the song. One of them being the melodic contours being the same. That means it goes high and low, kind of like twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Another feature that they figured out was the gradient of the notes on the piano are not side by side, right? They make like huge jumps, like somewhere over the rainbow. Also, the analysis led to the tempo being somewhere around 100 to 150. But I'm one of those people who does not believe that you can create a hit song through algorithms and stuff. Otherwise, you know, all AI music would be the greatest thing ever, which is where interest in this topic is going toward, to create an earworm through AI. Although we know about the phenomenology, the ultimate question of why does this happen in the first place is a question that is similar to why do we dream? Why do thoughts pop up in our head? That is why it is very important to study this even further, and I'm hoping that future studies on this, if I see any other future study on this, I will talk about it. But this can get us closer to the ultimate question of consciousness. So tell me what song is stuck in your head, and I hope this was a good video.